meeting order at 3:04. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
I so moved.
Second. Motion's made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to little business, Little League contract. Everybody has in their hands. Sandy noticed the same thing I did, that there's not the $1 charge in there. And got us having a copy of their contract, of their license, their
Insurance listing us.
We've actually, you can do the $1, it's not totally necessary. Rent can just be the maintenance obligations they've agreed to take on as well as having insurance. The $1 is nominal. If you wanted, we can change it to add that in if you really want it, but it's not required by
Well,
law.
I guess from past things we've done
Correct.
in past years that was something we had to do, I thought.
Yeah,
But
if you say no,
I will defer to you if that's
yeah, if
not
you
the
say no,
case.
let's not add it, because it's a more waste of staff time.
It would take a second to add it.
But this, I mean, the
It's not
processing
necessary.
of $1 costs
Yeah.
more than the.
No, because like I said, you guys, it's, think of it like this, it's like services in lieu of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
They're taking on, yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I just was understanding that that was a requirement.
Yeah.
But so like I said, I trust you.
So,
And I did have one other question though, is why we're making it 4 years?
That was the request of the league because of what they're gonna be putting into it, is my understanding.
Because, I mean, the other things that we rent out the properties was just kind of the wording about giving notice within 6 months if we plan to change, you know.
That was at their
With,
request, we can change it to a
I
longer
mean,
period
it's
or
up
a
to,
year by
it's
year with
not up to
automatic
me, it's
renewal.
just a different.
are you saying that are you familiar with them just leaving it open-ended?
Well, it's open-ended until one of the parties
Decides
notifies the
terminate
other
it?
party that they want to either revise or drop the contract, and then.
I've seen it done with some of the prior ones multiple different ways. Sometimes it's a year to year, but it's an automatic renewal unless one party terminates. Like I said, there's lots of different ways to skin the cat. We used the 4-year because that seemed to be what the league was requesting in the draft document we got. But if they're, want to do something different, easy enough to change.
I would like to leave it more open-ended because it seems like we spend more time on this than we need to. And unless there's a change that needs to happen. we
So
just
make it
assume
just
it
annual
renews.
with annual auto renewal.
Then no one forgets to do it in 4
Exactly,
years.
exactly, because they're gonna have a whole new
They're gonna have a
board
whole new
probably
board
by the time it's, you know. So, yeah, if we could just leave it with an auto.
Yeah, annual with an auto renewal, and I'll just throw in the $1 back in just because it's been past practice, that's not a big deal, I can just put that back in,
I don't really care when.
since I'm already making the other change,
And then that certificate of insurance
yes,
has to be added in, that they
That's-
require that.
that's in there.
We don't need to do
Yep.
that because
Yeah, I don't want
it
the $1
is
in there.
extra.
It's extra staff work, it's trying to get $1. Get two
gonna pay the
signatures.
And then
$1?
we're gonna have to do a receipt for $1, which then becomes more than a paper charge.
And you know the wording I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
The
do,
parties,
honestly, it is a little archaic, but honestly, let's throw it in there just because we do need to treat everybody evenly, and there's other ones out there that do that, so we don't wanna change precedent, we don't wanna get somebody else complaining,
they have to pay $1.
Right.
We can go from here forward, no more dollars.
but we also don't wanna have to go back through.
We'd have
Other
to change
ones.
those other contracts.
Well, it's gonna be renewed, right?
They're auto renewing, so we're not.
They auto
I mean,
renew,
the
that's
proof
Yeah.
of the other
the
contract.
thing, so we don't need to. That's the only thing that I noticed.
Okay,
Otherwise-
so I'm adding that into section 3.
We're adding $1 in there?
Yep,
You don't need to have that.
I don't think we need the $1.
like I said, it was a relevant point because we have other ones out there that have done it with past practice. You just don't want to get into you don't wanna create more issues than what you're doing, so that, I think that makes sense.
Do you think somebody's really gonna come to us and sue us over $1?
No, it's more of,
Because
You
this
want it-
one's up for renewal as well, which is the farm and
Saturday
Saturday market,
market,
we can
yeah.
eliminate it there too.
Yeah. We eliminate it everywhere.
It's up for.
Yeah. but it ends up, yeah, I mean, that,
Let's just eliminate it and then
Yeah,
don't
'cause
have to worry
I
about
don't
it.
wanna collect $1 or anyone else have to collect $1. Receipts.
That's
It's gonna cost us an hour and
$3 in our budget.
attorney fees,
Yeah.
right?
I need a formal raise.
We don't argue over $1.
Right?
But we are.
Yeah, that's kinda like the liaisons, it takes us 6 months to get it figured out.
mhm.
Well, those are the only comments that I had on the whole thing.
Do you guys have any other changes you guys want to make?
You know, if you
I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
this copy?
No, I haven't even seen that copy. Sorry, Buddy's been taking care of all this. I'm not sure where he is.
I texted him.
You did?
Yeah.
With any response?
No. Did this get sent to Buddy, I assume? Does anybody know? Because this is a whole new contract I have never seen until,
It's until you got your,
pardon?
until you got your packet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we didn't send it to
So
anybody
he
else,
said
that's what
it's-
happened in the work session, is
So
to
we
talk
don't
about
know
it.
if he, where did this originate? Because I know the one I sent him.
This is based on the standard occupancy agreement that we've used with Saturday Market and other entities that have used town property.
So did
With-
anybody send this to the Little League prior to?
I don't know if they did or not, I just developed it in
No, that's
So
that.
this doesn't seem like it goes over the list of demands that they have, either.
Because we had the,
Like water.
It does the water, it does.
Water's
go to the
there.
water, yeah.
Other
Go
needs?
October 1st, okay, so,
Mhm.
what was the other
I have a
thing?
copy of the other.
Weeds, is weeds in here too?
Locking it,
Um,
the fence, the locking, which I think to kind of address the
Is
access.
the weeds talked about in here? I didn't see it in here.
I think the maintenance of the thing
Weed maintenance is in there.
is the Little League's
Mhm.
responsibility now.
On that combination, this is probably really good.
Oh,
Yeah, this is one of
it's a
these.
different one.
Mhm.
It'll look like it from a distance. Maybe just because mine's printed smaller.
kind of like you're right.
Did this talk about that old skate park pad too?
No, I see nothing in there on that skate park pad.
I mean, they're asking for use of it and then to be able to build a new storage structure on it.
And those kinds of things are just stuff that the township approves. Alterations, they just have to seek the township approval, which means, we want to see the contract they're gonna use, that kind of stuff. So we can add the skate park pad as one, under the section of the use facilities, under least improvements,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
section
it-
two.
under section 2. But then the other one, there's a general procedure for anything you guys want to do, because obviously, maybe you guys get a $30 million grant at some point to put in professional baseball fields or something. You never know. I mean, like I said, if you guys win the lottery with some huge,
I mean, like Alturas did?
yeah, exactly. Where
Pretty
you,
much.
yeah, where you guys put in like a professional level of like what they've got down there. And so you would then come to us, develop the plan. So this agreement generally addresses anytime you want to make improvements. Exactly.
Does it include that parcel that has the skate park on it?
That's
in the
what-
property description?
That's what I'm suggesting. We don't really have a property description of this property, that's what we're kind of describing the facilities. This is on the same lot, and I really didn't want to incur the expense of Daryl going out there and surveying just this section, because this is on the same lot, unfortunately, as the sewer lagoons. It's all one parcel. So we can't write the entire legal description in there, because obviously you guys are not taking responsibility for the sewer lagoons. So we can add the skate park pad,
Yeah.
that's easy enough to do.
Because I think there was discussion about them potentially using it down the road, we don't want to eliminate that.
Yep.
And that's fine. So, that's why this is a work session, because I think you guys want to be comfortable with it before we sign off the other side for,
That's what we thought, it's just work it out, all the bugs out first.
I just don't know that Buddy knew that we were having a meeting.
So it's on two
Well-
different pages listed. under section 2 is where I think just write skate park in there.
Skate park pad, yep.
It doesn't need to be on the first page where it
Mm-mm.
says real property
Yeah.
containing baseball fields, improvements and structures related to the baseball fields. Structures, improvements related to the baseball fields is the skate
Mhm.
pad there too, so. Yeah, I'm still not finding that.
What are you looking for?
For the, when I talk about the weeds, I know
That's, I
Jason
think,
Yeager is gonna be taking care of it.
that's in general maintenance, guys. That's just under the general, that there is a general maintenance,
Well, we were gonna provide $200 towards maintenance and prevention of
Yeah,
noxious
something.
weeds by a licensed professional.
Mhm. That's what they
We
were
discussed,
requesting,
yes.
and that's what I have no problem agreeing to out of kind of a parks fund. I mean, this is truly a parks for the community. It's, there'll be
But
others
you're
that use
renting
it
it, so
too.
then you become
I hear you,
responsible
but
for
I'm just
the
saying that
upkeep
there'll
of
be
it.
other agencies like, or associations like AYSO or football or, you know, whatever that may end up down there at times too. $200 is,
Well, then you could charge them rent.
I don't wanna go through a contract.
I
I
don't
think
think
it's
they're
part of
trying
our
to-
responsibility
yeah, I
as a
think they're
service to
trying
the
to-
community under our park funds.
it's not a lot, it's just really probably buying this spray or something.
And that's only what, after the first
I mean, they'll apply
2
it.
years?
and again, folks, that's, that if you look at 5.1, other items of maintenance repair benefit for my landlord, that can be something that can be worked out. It doesn't need to be in the formal contract. There's wiggle room in it. That's why it's kept general. Because again, like I said, the entire place floods and all of the improvements float away. You know, you're gonna have to work something out between the two of you. There has to be some good faith between both parties to, you know, for different things that happen. So
So
I
in these
don't-
first couple of years, they can come back to us, I mean, I don't want to have to come back in 2 years though and say, oh, well, I know you requested, but then our contract that we agreed to didn't include that. I mean, they may not even sign this without being more specific, I guess, but,
That's kind of what I'm thinking, it's very vague.
Mhm.
yeah.
We had originally 2 years of weed prevention with gentlemen that they,
Yeah, contract.
and then
Volunteer.
we were gonna, after that, the following subsequent years, like the town would provide. So that would have been 19, 20, 20, 21? Well, no.
21, 22,
Technically
22.
19 and 20, their season begins and starts in the same year, right? So 21.
21 and 22, yeah. I mean, I understand being vague and that's fine, I would like them, and I'm sure that they would like to know that.
Well, I think too, I kind of agree on both sides that if there's a couple of things that, because other items of repair and maintenance will be undertaken and performed by the landlord, you know, then we have to consider how much time that they might have, depending on what it is, so that might, we might need to really look at that.
It says that we would repair and maintain.
No, that the town would, or.
No,
Yeah, that's right.
what, here's
Yeah.
what it says. What it says is the tenant will maintain the leased premises in the same condition the leased premises existed as the commencement date of this lease. Anything approved above and beyond that is is at the landlord's discretion based on budgeting and nature of repairs suggested required, or whatever. That's why it's kept general. Because again, the town may not have the money one year. That's why you kind of keep things kind of vague to make sure, like I said, I mean, something severe happens and the town can't do certain things, or vice versa. You guys aren't obligated to do, the Little League is not obligated to do more than what they currently have, you know, current condition, which would of course keep weeds down, things like that. But they're not, like I said, they're not being obligated to put a new structure in if they don't want to, or anything of those nature. I mean, right now, this
So-
is to keep it as it currently is.
So let's say they go spend $30,000 on our new building, and I would assume they have a insurance, I mean, I know they have insurance for liability and accidents and injuries type thing. Would they have an insurance for,
Our insurance covers all
That's
town
what- okay.
property. That improvement, because it's gonna be done with our permission, is
Yes.
going to become town property.
that's what I figured, okay.
That's how it works. Usually another you know, for example, like what happened with Head Start. The feds paid the money to get it there, and we guaranteed it, and then Head Start has to, of course, keep the building in. They add on to it, and it becomes their baby, so it's the same deal because it's a town facility.
Mhm.
So we would retain ownership under this contract of that improvement if it was done and Little League ceased to exist or.
Which never was maintained, really.
Right.
But yeah, okay.
See, and it seems like there was something said at one point about, the town going in and blading that.
They were gonna come in and take care, we were actually just gonna request that, because it's time to do it, but I don't see it in here.
I didn't
There's a
either.
lot, I'm not prepared, sorry. I didn't know this was
And again, I
happening
think
today,
that's trying to
so-
be kept under more of the general, I mean, if you wanna get that specific, we can. But again, if you're gonna get into stuff like that, you're gonna be amending the contract every year. Like I said, I think the two groups need to work together based on what folks can do for budgeting and stuff like that.
I
Well,
love that
that's what
idea,
we
but I
did
hate
that.
to tell you, it never has worked out. I'll be real honest, I've been on both
That's
sides,
why they want the
and
contract.
we have
Mhm.
seen it never really work out. We know that everybody would love to do a good faith, but it doesn't happen, because everybody's got an excuse. if
Well,
it's
that's why
not
I'd like to
good.
make a commitment as a council. I mean,
Mhm.
what do we think this park is? I mean, to me, if it were up to me, I'd love to just donate the land. Like, obviously, we can't because it's on the sewer line.
Correct.
Unless we did a lot line adjustment and squared that up so it's just that spot. Obviously, I don't know if they want to take on the extra liability, which is then year-round, unless it was all locked, but, you know, I just think that, you know,
Well,
this
and
is a
that-
community asset, and so I'm happy retaining it, ownership, because
And folks,
but
that,
for the last 50 years
Mhm.
plus, it's been the Little League's fields. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been maintaining them, doing all the work. getting
and
all
maybe
the
that's really what,
sponsors and-
and honestly, maybe that is really, before you keep doing these agreements and stuff, because again, it sounds like they really need the ability to do what they need to do with it. So honestly, the land, I think you guys would have a very easy case to say that the town doesn't have a direct use for it itself anymore. So, and again, we could do it with the stipulations, we could make it a conditional grant that, you know, they have to allow other groups into it, and then they've got full control of it. And that might be the better way of, then it's your facility, you're doing what you do, and then we can help you guys out with it, you know, as we have availability and things of that nature, but then it's your baby. And that, because again, I mean, functionally, that's almost what it's turning into anyway. And if
That's what
you,
it has been.
and if that's what it is, then why don't we just do, why do a half measure?
Yeah, I think
And
that's
it-
a bad idea.
You know, and yet, you know, there's always, well, the Ruth Field's down there, and that's a separate entity. You know, and so it's,
But if the little, but again, I think we can
Yeah,
do
this
it with,
isn't even
we
agreement.
can, we can do it with an agreement, we grant it with an agreement that it reverts to us if other organizations aren't permitted to use it. Then you guys are then able to vet and control so that we're not having to, because every organization that comes on it, we need to see an insurance certificate. I mean, it just turns into this constant, but then they're your buildings, they're your issue, and it really lets you guys have the control and do what you wanna do with it. And then we can, maybe in part of that agreement, maybe agree to blade it this year and help out with some weed abatement for the first couple of years to kind of get them off the ground to whatever. But then also, you guys can fundraise to build on it what you want. Let me give you an example. The Alger wasn't eligible for some of its funding because it didn't own the facility. If you guys wanna seek stuff from the national organization or from other whatever, you need to be the ones that own the building, or the town has to be the one applying for the funding. So if that's the council's pleasure, and it sounds like, you know, that seems to be, that really seems to be what the intent I'm hearing here. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Is that what everybody's kind of thinking as far
Would
as?
that go into still a city park though, or are we now, we're
You would
no
be
longer
the
annexed into that, right?
No,
Little League organization, of what I understand from what you're saying, they would own the land.
yeah, and one other thing, just as a side note, if you're gonna do that, you guys need to reactivate your corporate membership. You've let your state individual registration lapse.
Yeah, but I still pay state and federal taxes every year.
Right, but you should get that, if you're gonna be in the property ownership business, you should have the entity out there so that you
So-
folks individually aren't.
so I think
So what
this
are the
needs to
property
be.
taxes on that though, because that's gonna be
It's
another.
you're a nonprofit.
Yeah, you'd be a nonprofit.
It's gotta be cheap, but.
So I don't think we're in a period that we could even go into,
I know this.
I mean, try to do the transfer today.
Yeah.
But I think this contract with amendment or, you know, attachments to the motion to approve this, such as, well, I mean, that's 2 years out before we become an issue. But blading needs to be taken care of. And, I mean, I have no problem with this contract with, you know, adding the wording for the skate park and then
Just
making
adding
sure-
two specific,
and making sure that we know that, you know, we're changing the language to this is open-ended, annual review, and renewal.
You want an annual?
Well, just without, but it's
Annual auto.
Oh, I see.
auto renew.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Unless one party,
Yeah, unless somebody
With
needs
such
to
and
go
such
to the,
notice.
you know. But I do want to look at the option of transferring this property. I mean, I think that it makes sense to do it, with the understanding that it should be.
and there can still be like a water providing agreement and stuff like that, I mean, that's,
All that can, yeah.
all that can be part of the grant, so I mean, it's not like you guys are getting stuck with a boat anchor, but it just seems like this is your this is, I mean, this.
And we may find out that Lily doesn't want to take it
Yeah,
on.
maybe too much for.
But it's
them with
fine, it
insurance
just
and
seems like
taxes, but-
it would be nice to get that lot line adjusted correctly, because it'll never.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of lines that need to be corrected.
Well, and I
So,
know when I
um,
talked to Jeff earlier,
Yeah.
you know, about grading it at least a year, or once a year, you know, and he agreed to that, so, and that would be good. It's not in here, but
I mean,
it would need to put that
truly
in
to
there.
me,
I would like to see.
knowing that, you know, our lodger tax keeps growing, that to me, with what Lily is trying to do there, to bring people in, and we already get Burns, Klamath Falls,
Mhm.
Alturas folks into town, you know, we are doing.
The problem we ran into, again, folks, with the lodging tax, and I think it's ridiculous, and I hope they fix it eventually. That is such a mushy area when it comes to facilities, I think we talked about that several meetings back. That is something you don't wanna mess with, unless it's like a tourism center or something like that explicit. I personally think it should be able to use for stuff like this.
Well, there's a lot
But
of,
but it's such a mushy area, and if somebody decides they have a problem with it, and there's people around here that have some of those attitudes, it ends up, so we could have sponsor an event, for example, or something along those lines where it's a specific tourism event. But money into facilities gets really difficult to justify, because, and the AG isn't even clear on it, and we've asked for clarification, but it's just, is a real.
Yeah, I wasn't saying a specific
No.
event or anything,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there may come some things that.
Right.
we can help with advertising for their.
Absolutely.
stars,
Underneath that.
things like
Absolutely,
that.
anything like that,
That's
those are
key.
clearly allowed.
Yeah.
You know,
It's just, it stinks that you can't use it for the things that really should be able to
There's
be
a
used
lot of
for.
people that will benefit from it,
Right.
hotels,
Correct.
you know, all the
Yeah.
food.
Like I said, if it was up to me and and I wish I could interpret it that way, I would say, yeah, absolutely, we should be able to spend money directly into facility improvements and stuff like that. It just doesn't seem to be allowed, so. So we can add that under, grading once a year, under the repairs and maintenance obligation, and then, weed control.
Okay. And what year do you wanna
We-
put for the
so
weed control, twenty
Weed
21?
control for 2 years? Is that's what they're?
After the first 2 years.
After the
'cause
first 2
They have
years.
somebody for 2 years.
Yeah,
Does
so
that
we're really
include this
talking about
year?
calendar
So
year
2021.
21 and 22. Well,
Does that mean we have to mow it? Does that mean?
No.
I mean, those are things that we need to make
We
sure.
put weed, it was, the wording was,
not to exceed $200.
Might be-
You have the old company.
yeah, $200, weed towards maintenance and prevention of noxious weeds by a licensed professional. So you could put in spraying or
So that would
whatever.
be for those 2 years that you mentioned?
Yeah,
After.
after 2020, so starting in the
Oh,
year
after
2021.
2020 for 2, yeah, okay, that's what I meant.
And by then,
yeah.
hopefully, we
I
figured
got
out if we're gonna
This is-
just
And maybe
transfer
by
this
then,
anyways.
yeah.
and we won't-
But again, folks, I am really gonna suggest both organizations really think about, I just think I think Darwin's point is well taken, I think it really makes sense to look at if that would be workable, and I would suggest you guys talk to the national organization about if that gives you guys some more funding opportunities and stuff like that,
Okay.
because if that would open up the ability to get more grants and stuff like that, we all realize what a valuable service that Little League provides and how important it is, but if that gives you more flexibility, like I said, whereas we're just stuck with kind of general park stuff that can't always do as much.
Well, and if they take it over in 2020, then would the town still be responsible for the weed control? So
Well, we
that's
can
another
discuss
question.
that, we
Then
can
we won't-
discuss,
we
you know,
won't
a
have
break on taxes for a
Mm-hmm.
few years, or, I mean, there's a lot of different things we can do to help support
Correct.
them without truly costing us a whole lot of money.
Right.
Like,
The big thing we have.
just as an example, like, under our park fund, we have park expenses. I mean, there's probably a few other line items too, but 4,000 is the budget, and for the last 3 years, we haven't spent even over 1,000. So, I mean, a little $200 here, it's not a big deal.
No.
I mean, they are parks at this
Right.
point,
No, I
owned
like
by
that.
us, so.
Well, and I know
$200
it's a goal of ours to
Drop
get
in the bucket.
somebody licensed to do, so maybe that kind of helps motivate and phase that fee out a little bit into different areas. Not sure how expensive it is.
That's not contractable. I can't find mine.
It wasn't.
Does anybody have an idea what the deal is out there with those bathrooms? Because when we first put that in, there was bathrooms there. Now they said everything's taken out of there.
It is, somebody, we don't know, I
Bathrooms
started
there.
4 or 5 years ago.
Behind the
concession
concession
stand.
stand.
I don't know.
They've been gone since. I've
Toilets
been
in
on
there.
board.
And I wonder if there's a reason why they were taken out, or if they could be fixed.
They were probably vandalized and then, you know, maybe pipes burst or something, I'm just
And
assuming
somebody
a lot of
said,
different
let's
things,
just
but
shut it
they,
down.
yeah, I mean,
Need to
Right.
be
but
out
they,
there.
I'm sure it wouldn't take much to get them up and running
Yeah.
again, and it would be a super.
I personally don't wanna clean up after other people.
It is kind of
I
nice
will not
having
touch it. That's
But
not
you-
my.
that's true.
So you guys are wanting to use, that's why you guys were talking, okay, so
We
now,
have sanitation who brings down the porta potties and they do that as a donation for us.
okay, that actually,
That's
I can
better
understand
way
where
to
that's
go.
coming from, because like you said, it's,
You have kids running around, I mean, they're kids.
Love the bathrooms, they shove.
They're kids, I don't know what their obsession is with bathrooms, but I don't wanna have to clean up after that personally, so.
No.
I have my own children.
fair enough.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know,
they're great
this
storage
seems
facilities for us now, you know, we keep all of our stuff up and off the ground from all
So
the
the
wetness.
porta potties work fine then?
Yeah,
or-
they really do.
Okay, I just-
Sanitation treats
Because
us very well.
Porta potty works,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
on a hot day.
yeah.
I mean,
Always
she's
does.
right though, it's hard enough to get people to do concessions.
Let alone-
Right, and then have to do janitorial
All that,
stuff, like I
yeah.
said, and like you said, somebody throws up, I mean, it just,
Yeah, you just don't know what,
yeah,
they're, you know what that
I,
would be for,
I
so.
understand.
And you get people leaving all kinds of garbage in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and people don't wanna hang out in the porta potties quite the same, so.
Yeah, they,
No.
they kinda get in, get out.
Well, and if the town ever develops a homeless issue or anything like that,
That's where they're.
that's another place that you have a problem with, and you don't wanna end up in a situation with a volunteer coming out there and
Yeah.
getting in a confrontation. It's not pleasant for city employees.
I know this puts you on the spot, Steph, but is there anything off the top of your head that you guys really wanna make sure was in the contract?
No, just the grading, I mean, I know it's, you know, we're open-ended over here. Can I have a copy of this, or is
You
this
can
my
have that one.
copy?
You
Okay.
can have that one. I need that.
But no, I think we're okay with that. I can definitely talk to Buddy and the board and see what we can do, what we just talked about.
So you can get us a revised one that we
Absolutely.
can send to
Mhm.
the board.
And then, yeah, if I can take this and just tell them what we're gonna revise.
Yep.
And see what we can do there. But I'll see Buddy tonight, we have practice tonight. so. Nothing off the top of my head at least, no.
And I think, like I said, please present the board with, really think about ownership, because I don't think the land split process would be that difficult, and I just think, like I said, it's, that park, you guys are the primary users, so it may make more sense. Plus then it puts more, obviously we would put some restrictions on it about you need to make sure other groups have access and et cetera, but then it gives you the right to say, you know what, we're not gonna let X, Y, or Z on there with certain things. I mean, it gives you guys more control.
Yeah, because they were gonna lock them up because, I mean, our fields look better than they have in a long time because.
Because of that.
It
Even
does
our
look-
driveway looks better than it has in a
That's
long
big
time,
issue.
you know, just because people weren't.
One
able to
other
get in
thing
there.
is, while it's town property, and this was really important with Public Works, they want us to provide the locks and keys.
I thought they had them already.
We do.
Yeah,
Yeah, say they do.
yeah, I'm just, but that way that way we have the issue of, as your board changes and stuff, we're the ones kind of dispersing that until you guys take ownership if you decide to do that. That way it's just
Which was in the original contract, so if you wanna add it in this one, that the town has a copy at all times of the
Yeah.
current.
they really, Public Works really wanted to be the ones for getting the keys made and providing them so they know who has them. So that way we always have one. There's been enough issues with other organizations we do stuff with that it was a real concern of Jeff's. And like I said, too, there are certain locks they can get that are a little better quality, so things like that. So it's better to, and well, of course, they're not gonna lock you guys out, they're not gonna not provide them. They just wanna make sure that the universe of people that have keys to this are known to who's there. So that way too, if some yahoo's out there that got a hold of the key and shouldn't have it, they can say, hey, what are you doing there? Because town employees are more likely to see something, sometimes it's another set of eyes on the place.
So like, I mean, I still have the old keys, I'm sure they're outdated, but.
Mhm.
Probably not.
Probably not. But, I mean, you can put a do not duplicate, but people still duplicate it.
I know, you do, you just do the best you can.
I mean, I feel like we're being closed in right now on everything. I mean, we had our free will, we just wanted a contract
Mhm.
and a little help. But now it's like, well, now you can do this, this, and this, and you can't step outside this, and now we have the control. That's not what we were going for. So I don't know, I mean, it's fine, it's whatever, I'll talk to them both sides, but, I mean, honestly, I would expect every board member to have it, and then whoever we feel fit to.
Oh,
have a
absolutely.
key.
Well, that
We will-
makes sense, because there was
We're
a
not
key
gonna
in the
not,
first
if
place,
you guys
yeah.
are saying, if you guys are saying, hey, make X number of we need X number of keys,
Okay.
that's what we're talking
That's what-
about.
okay.
Exactly, no, we're not talking about,
Permission.
we trust you guys to vet who you're gonna be putting on there as far as, but again, like I said, they wanna just be able to, cause the other thing is they also wanna be able to make sure they don't want a lot getting changed and then a pipe burst or something, and we need to get out there and get it, whatever now, so the field doesn't get ruined, or you've got a geyser in the middle of the winter.
Mhm. Which no one's ever helped there before, we've done that for ourselves. Our concession stands just flooded, so, I mean,
Right.
that was all on us still, so.
During
Okay,
the-
well, I'll
during
take
the,
it. What was that?
During the flood?
No.
Because
No,
of
it was like a
No,
month
it was
ago,
ju-
like right before season
Mhm.
started, the whole concession stands is just flooded.
Maybe I'll do nice.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
Okay, do we have anything else on that?
That's it.
Thank you for showing up.
Yeah,
Nope.
thanks for letting me know what's happening.
Well, and I apologize, I just thought this was a work session for the council, and so I didn't send it any further.
I think it's just easier to get their opinion in here, because, you know,
Yeah,
while we're
No.
at it, and
no,
Yeah, if you just let us know, and we'll get here. But yeah, thank you for giving me the heads up.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Back to
Thank
us.
you.
now, do we have anything else you wanna go over? We still got 25 minutes. Nikki?
I forgot.
Okay,
That's why I didn't write.
Darwin?
We have other listed here,
Pardon?
other, under old business.
I just put whatever you want.
Yeah, so, Sunshine Center did get brought up again. I mean, we need to just probably get inventory of all of our assets and decide what we wanna do with some of them, like that one.
Mhm.
You know, I feel bad, cause I feel like I partially, mostly derailed the last folks who were in here asking for, you know, something, but they didn't seem to be even close to a fair market of what, you know, building is. When I knew that there was at least one other person that was interested in the building, and we haven't really advertised it, but if we were to put a sign even out front saying, hey, you know, city-owned, interested in, you know, renting this space, contact, you know, town
But
hall,
what's the
whatever.
lot look like on the plot map? Is it one big area? Do we have to do
I
a
mean,
adjustment
I'm
there?
not talking about the park, I'm talking about the Sunshine Center.
I know that, but isn't it all on one same lot?
No, the center and the little, you know,
Playground.
playground in the back is one lot. The
Yeah.
park is a totally.
Oh, good, so they are separated.
They are
I thought it
separate
was
lots.
one big lot
No, they're separate
because
lots, I know for.
the old
certain.
lots that they had on the floor plans showed all of McDonald Park
Yeah, it was probably
too.
just because they were, you know, using.
They're
that
old
space.
plans,
Yeah.
but they were in that building
They're
at one
separate tax
time.
lots.
And I had
It
a,
wouldn't take much to break them out because they were platted lots anyway, but they are separate lots.
I had a discussion with somebody that would be willing to partner, I think he's talked to you, Johnny.
well, I'm actually need to, I was on sort of vacation last week, so I
Oh.
haven't really worked in that avenue.
Oh.
But
But,
I
yeah,
need
he
to talk to him because.
He said he's talked to you once or something about
Yeah, we
it,
need
but,
to, I mean, that's still one of my big goals, is trying to get.
and he
these-
said maybe they could help some too.
Yeah, and that's
because-
kind of what we need, is we need
Yeah.
the support of somebody who can do some financing probably. You know, and then childcare providers.
Mhm.
And I've got people that are more interested in working as an outside of the home childcare provider than they are in the home. And so, you know, maybe there's something there. It certainly wouldn't be a fast process, but I'd love to see something like maybe by next school year,
Yeah.
would be great. But,
And
Yeah, the
I'm-
problem we ran into was, I think we didn't inventory the building and the licensure stuff, because if that had stayed a going concern, there was a lot of stuff grandfathered in, and there's a whole bunch of, I think what we talked about last time, I think Daryl looked at it, and some other stuff they got pretty onerous about. So like you said, it's gonna have to be somebody that can get it remodeled up to code, because the problem is, once you shut one of those down, suddenly you've gotta meet, it's just like the remodel on a Mercury, you gotta go all ADA, you know, and like I said, the new rules are
I
pretty strict.
discussed that a little bit with the licensor, and the ADA, because there isn't a demand yet, isn't as much of an issue right away, but part of the problem is even if there was a demand, the staff wouldn't be equipped. So, if we can't provide the service, then we can't really meet the requirements at all. So,
Right.
it's kind of one of those things, I'm actually got a specific case where I'm trying to work on that, but, I would love to see it ADA. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but yeah, that would be a pretty big major, I'll talk to a few contractors about it. It's, there's some work to be done. Now, for the state licensor, it's ironic what they require that, the foundation doesn't necessarily have to be there, but you can't have the lead paint on the walls or chipping paint, type thing. It's kind of interesting, but I would like to see it turned into a quality building, especially since we do own it. And it be utilized, but yeah, there's still the playground, all of that stuff would need some work. But,
Well, and that's why I think we just need to analyze all this, because it's, we haven't spent any money on it, but we're not really losing money, but we're not making any money. So if we want to keep owning it, then we probably need to spend the money to upgrade it.
Or the other option is, if it's surplus property, it's surplus property, and find somebody that's interested in buying it, and then let it be their problem.
And though it was donated to us, right? I mean, I don't know how that fell.
Yeah.
I don't know how
We would have to go back to the terms of the donation to make sure there's not a reversion clause.
Yeah, that
That'd
was
be the only,
Even if it
before
is
even I was born.
Right.
When I,
20 years reversion clause.
right, when I had the state fire marshal and building inspector both over there. And if you're gonna put it back into a daycare or something like that, there's a lot of regulations, a lot of things need to be changed, especially the steps.
the steps, we're just gonna start getting.
Steps are the worst part of it. For one, you're gonna have to build, like the one downstairs to go out that back door, you're gonna have to build a ramp up over half of those steps, because those kids can't go up over 4 feet.
yeah.
Right.
So, but we may be talking about, daycares and stuff like this, who are tenants who ADA requirements are there, but there may be other occupants who may not have to meet those requirements.
Correct.
And they
So,
Right.
and they may be fully willing to pay a reasonable rate, and maybe even co-renters on, one floor and the other floor, so.
The other thing, in order for it to be handicap accessible upstairs,
There's options, we just need to look at them
it was,
and advertise it.
Well, we have other properties too.
after looking at putting a ramp in, it was a lot more than putting a lift. Right there on the south side of those set of steps going up the front. Said it'd be better just to put a hydraulic lift up right there and put a cover over that than it would to put a ramp, because the ramp would have to go out so far and it's almost clear out to the street is where it'd have to start.
So how come they can't use the ramp on the one side? Is that, it's just
Maybe
in the
could,
building?
I think that we need
I
a
mean,
solid
yeah.
opinion, I know it was our building official, but
It does for downstairs, but you have to have a ramp for upstairs
Gotta have
too.
something upstairs
Because it
for
is
if
handicap.
they
second
occupy
floor.
that space, so
Yeah,
that's the
that's
thing, it's
right.
like, you may get somebody else upstairs.
Stairs.
somebody else
Yeah, that's what I-
downstairs.
That's when I had to change preschool. When I was working there, preschool had to be downstairs
Right.
when we had somebody there that needed the ramp because the
It
wheelchair
just
ramp.
goes downstairs.
There's no ramp for us.
So we just need to look at more options, I think this council should probably, that's what I say, I bring it up under other as, it's something that we just sit there and it deteriorates,
Yeah.
and we're not doing,
Yeah,
that's not good management of our,
He said,
public
Especially when we'd
funds
like to see
and
the
public
public
assets.
make their buildings more
yeah. I mean,
aesthetically pleasing and ours is not.
there's a lot of me that says, maybe we should just sell it, and there's a housing problem right now, and maybe we just sell it. I
Maybe
mean,
we can make it into a man camp.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
a bunk camp.
well, but, and the other thing, the bathrooms are not up to code. They all have to be changed, one's upstairs and downstairs,
I mean,
because
it's,
none of them are handicap accessible.
And I know we're almost on budget time, and if we were to try to add maybe a little flexibility there, or come in from who knows where.
So maybe I
it would
can
be
schedule
nice
a
to-
meeting with, state, you know, because obviously it's one of the very few locations that works for a childcare center. But also with, you've met with the fire marshal and
Yeah,
and
got
maybe
it.
with a contractor or two to see what kind of numbers we're even looking at.
Well, Rob Thornton went down and looked at it, and I think Albertson,
I'm
Albertson went down and looked at it.
And did you ever get numbers?
No, they were all too busy to give him back quotes.
So that probably should be
Rob
reapproached.
figured it would probably cost about $20,000 to do that work.
And Philbert was out for a couple of years.
No, it's very reasonable. We'd recoup our costs fairly quickly with rent on that, a couple of years, and, you know.
I mean,
Moving
yeah,
forward,
obviously
yeah.
scheduling a contractor is another issue, but,
Sure.
you know, you just have to do it eventually, I guess, and wait in line.
Well, at the time, all three, Philbert, I don't think he ever went down and looked at it. He said he didn't have time, he was so busy.
Wouldn't that be something we'd have to open for a competitive bid?
Absolutely,
Wave up the,
yes, absolutely.
and then we go to say hi to all of them, tell them, please place a bid.
Yeah, the other thing that I would
So we can
suggest,
get moving.
if you're gonna look at something like that, you really probably wanna line up a tenant first, so you know what they need. You really almost need to, the build it and they will come doesn't always work. I think you wanna have somebody in there that's serious, that you're doing the work for a reason, that you're gonna get bound contractually to.
And maybe we just say we're looking for a long-term lease, and then we negotiate lease, and it's.
And then we'll
Sealed
get,
bid kind of thing, and what's your
Mhm.
demands.
exactly,
Put them in the bid, and then we
Yep.
open them, we look at them, and then we decide
Yep. exactly.
what works.
That would be a way of doing it too, and that way you're fully compliant with public contracting stuff, and also you've allowed multiple people to try to use it, but that's probably not a bad idea, starting out.
Are there restrictions with that being close to a park as to who can occupy it?
There are restrictions about, for example, that's too close to a residential area, I believe, or a school.
For what?
Yeah, there would be certain restrictions, I think, but it also comes down to zoning. It depends on the use. It's hard to know without a particular use being, and honestly, anybody that looks to lease it, they need to do, that isn't our job to figure that out. They need to do their own due diligence to make sure they can use the building for what they need it to do.
It's zone residential, so yeah, it
Mhm.
would have to be looked at.
So can people have like alcohol and stuff?
But wasn't the park something else, remember when Saturday Market wanted to be in the park, and Janine said something about the zoning. Do you remember? what it
There was some, oh jeez.
There was some catch to that.
Right, and it's a characteristic of that particular zone.
And it
That would
was-
be something
And it
that,
was because they were only gonna be there one day a week.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. But I can't remember what the zoning problem was.
So that would probably be the first thing to check out, is have Janine just give us an idea of what the zoning restrictions are, so we can kind of put out, in an ad, that that's what you wanna do, to say, hey, it's zoned this, and
But
then,
they would, I mean, we're not really advertising for the park, so that
No.
was a different situation, but.
but again, we would say, this property is, you see it all the time in properties for sale, whatever, this property is zoned A1 Ag, or et cetera, you would just have that as part of your
I
ad.
just need to notify people so they know right off the bat.
Exactly. Cause you also don't wanna waste people's time. It's something with a
It was
it's,
something with the temporary use.
yeah, the temporary permit can only be for 30 days consecutive.
Yeah, it has to be
and-
Okay,
consecutive,
so
not.
that makes sense.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
that's what it
It
was.
was consecutive, that's right.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Darren's wheels are turning.
Do you have another
So,
meeting?
we did liaison positions. Do we get a new printout of all what we're actually assigned to, so I know what I'm.
Yeah, I'll have them for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't you? I thought you did
I
that.
did print them out once, but I put
Just
them in
what
my
the-
box.
I think you put a temporary one
I didn't
out at one time because we hadn't quite.
I didn't see the finalized, that's I'm just asking.
I'll get one as soon as this is over.
So, I might as well bring it up while we're sitting here talking about property use. The, Saturday market, they have the lot that they used in the past
The parking lot.
that way.
Mhm.
And it sounds like they would like to be back there again.
Mhm.
And they were off of it because there was some type of work being done, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Last year, we
Yeah.
did that Second
They
Street
did
project.
the
Okay, but
line.
there's no restrictions this year, there's nothing going on there that we have?
No.
Okay.
No, but I don't know, I think you have a contract.
Yeah, I'd probably.
Okay, yeah, she
Yeah,
brought
and
it
I talked
in
to
to
Karen, yeah.
kind
I know
of
that
update it.
they would like to have some help from the town, because, and I don't know exactly. Tenant is supposed to maintain the entire property. And so it looks like, to me, given what I've seen over there, the concrete sidewalk and all that kind of stuff's in
The
bad
only thing that
repair.
isn't is those flower bed things there that haven't been maintained for quite a long time. And they're not, and I assume, I'm not sure who was responsible for doing them, actually, but,
It'd be nice- well,
so they don't look very attractive.
Well, and it seems like that lot's used for a parking lot more than anything for
Well, it is,
that kind of
but
surrounding area, right?
when they have Saturday market, the block part of it all.
They bought or they leased?
Pardon me?
They bought or they leased it, right?
They lease it one day a week.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then it's from, what, I don't know what the starting date is, June through September, I think, or
Yep.
something like that.
Well, and I also, on the same subject of the concrete, I wanted to put something in the paper or something, you know, so these business owners, you know, kind of know that it's their responsibility. You walk downtown and several of the, it's very difficult, they haven't taken care of stuff for years.
Well, and I talked to Mike Beeson,
Uh-huh.
and he wants to repair what's next to him.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's right
Yeah.
here, on the side. He was under their understanding there may be some oil tanks underneath there, he's not really sure. And I don't know if we even have records that would
I think
document
not
that.
under the sidewalk, but I don't know.
But you can see it's sloping.
Mhm.
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he wanted to come and ask for the town's permission to repair them, and I said, well, you're actually obligated to repair them. There's an issue with the one, where Albertsons used to have their clothing shop.
Right, that's horrible.
And that one's really bad, but I don't, like I said, you know, owners, I have no idea who the owners are on some of these. And that's something I think I've heard across the board from the communities, ordinance enforcement, and I think that, while there's always pushback, people are really kind of ready to start seeing that happen, even if it's a letter, you know, saying, hey, want to let you know you're aware, you know, for all I don't think there's a whole lot of changeover in the business and the buildings, but that maybe they forget they are responsible.
Well, and I sent out 5 letters and got all of them back.
Oh, for invalid addresses?
No, they wouldn't sign them and take them.
Oh.
So.
You just send that one out regular mail, and then you have to send, according to our code.
And do they read it or do they toss it? I don't honestly know, but I get the certified mail ones back. They don't sign them. And
so-
people don't follow through the ordinances on there, but I do mail out the letters.
Yeah.
They do go out.
Do we have money in the sidewalk fund?
There's money.
And so maybe we can kind of prioritize, see where we can assist.
Yeah.
I'd really love to assist, you know, those who are willing to help beautify their buildings, as an incentive. We'll meet you halfway, or we'll meet you a quarter of the way, or whatever. I mean, talk to a contractor, and the price of concrete is roughly 25-ish, give or take a few, dollars per, square foot? 8 for, I don't know, 25 for linear? Anyway, so, I mean, there's a cost to it.
The only thing I would throw out there, folks, you're probably not gonna get much done this summer, and the only reason I know that is I know a bunch of people are doing concrete stuff, and Red Rock is turning into this giant black hole. Anybody that's doing concrete work now is trying to get all their private projects done, because the concrete plant here is not gonna be doing squat as soon as, and they're really getting that point, because with Red Rock jumping into full bore, they're pretty much sucking up all of Sam's.
I'm not sure if it's this week or next week, we're supposed to be pouring about 500 yards.
Exactly.
Well, you know, maybe it's a long-term project. Oh,
Right.
Whole bunch of permits.
Yeah.
that reminds me of so tying into it, that meeting that, I say LCP because they were kind of one of the big organizations put it on.
Downtown.
What came out of that, it was a fabulous meeting. There was like 30 people there. Great ideas. Everybody has the same goal. They want to beautify Lakeview. They want to make the downtown flourish, we wanna start drawing people out of their homes and into the downtown. You know, that was the gist of it. What came out of that Katie with Ford Foundation and, last name Stewart, Sherry, is that we would like to all have a, what do we call it? Master plan for what the whole entire community, all these organizations and entity in those organizations all kind of come together with a master plan, which obviously the town would have to help with some enforcement or some, you know, our own comprehensive plans that we may have. I'm not sure, you know, what they say or how outdated, but so that we're all on the same board, because a lot of people are making changes, trying to make their buildings better, but we're gonna end up being a little bit disconnected, I think, if we don't have a master plan. So, you know, down the road next year, maybe look at concrete, because that's stuff you just gotta schedule out too far. So, you know.
Well, the other thing that the master plan gets you, and I'm just familiar with this because I've watched some other entities do it, the master plan is your foundation for applying for funding for like the Main Street project and other stuff like that. They don't even talk to you if you don't have that,
Yeah.
which is what we had, I mean, it's what we had to do for the water, for example, to apply for what we're doing. So it's the same, and honestly, what you maybe should look for, and maybe LCP or SCOED or one of those can apply for a grant, or we can, for getting funding to do that. Sometimes there are grants to
That was
just
the
do the
plan.
master plan itself,
Yes.
just to do the initial assessment.
I think that's kind of where Katie had discussed getting us some funding just for that, because it's such a, I mean, what organization is gonna pay for it, you know? Or we all pitch in type.
But there might be free money available for
Well,
it.
and I know they used to have through the Main Street program,
Mhm.
they did do
Yep.
some of those downtown plans.
So we
and
set
stuff.
another meeting date
Yeah,
for,
June, something. 8, 9?
it was when we have a meeting here. It is the 11th, I believe.
That was the 11th of June.
Right?
Yeah,
So
June
what day?
11th,
yeah, because
at 6.
after council meeting,
Yes.
go from 6 to 8
Mhm.
again.
6 to 8, and it'll be at the senior center again?
Yes, I believe so. I'll confirm that, but yeah.
It's downtown,
Yeah.
or the Main Street program, I think
Yeah,
is what
pretty
they're
much.
calling it, but yeah, it's with LCP, and so, okay. All right.
Okay, we have nothing else, and we will adjourn this meeting at